Okay, this is 8.6, the law of cosines. So when we finish, I want you to be able to apply the law of cosines. So one thing that's essential for you to understand is to know when you can use the law of cosines. So we can use the law of cosines if we know, let's see, let me get my triangle. If we know the measure of two side lengths and the measure of the included angle. So if we have side, angle, side, we can use the law of cosines. The other time is if we have side, side, side. So if we have all three side lengths, we can use it as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what the law of cosines is. Okay, so for any triangle, in this case ABC, the law of cosines relates the cosine of each angle to the side lengths of the triangle. So I know this looks complicated, but let's take a look. Okay, so if I have a squared, so that's going to be side A. So notice that we're finding the cosine of angle A. So these two are what we're going to do. So let's say we've got a squared is equal to b squared minus 2 times b times c. So b times c times the cosine of A. So I'm going to see if we can notice a pattern. So the other is in terms of b. So we have b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2 times a times c times the cosine of b. Have you noticed a pattern? So I'll show you what I noticed. So when a is squared and a squared is equal to whatever, you're going to be finding the cosine of A, and then you're going to use the other two legs of the triangle. So in this case, B and C. Now when it's B squared, you're taking the cosine of angle B, and you're squaring the other two legs. So we're going to square A, and we're going to square C, minus 2 times A times C. So I know it looks complicated, but once you do a couple of these, you'll have it down. Okay, let's take a look at this problem. Okay, we want to find B to the nearest tenth, and B is right over here. And good for us, we have the measure of angle B. So let's see if we can figure out how to work this. So we're looking for B, so we're going to set the equation up as B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of angle B. Okay, so our legs aren't really labeled that way, but as long as we know what leg we're looking for, so we're looking for section AC, these other two can be A and C. Okay, so let's start with 10. So let's say B squared is equal to 10 squared plus, what's my other leg? 22 squared minus 2 times my A value, which we decided was 10, times 22 times the cosine of angle B, which happens to be 44. Okay, so this looks ridiculously complicated, but all we have to do now is plug this in our calculator. So I'm going to pause, or I'd like for you to pause, and enter this in your calculator. And once you have what all of this is equal to, I want you to resume. Okay, what did you get? I'll tell you what I got. I got b squared is equal to 267.4904879. Now what do we need to do? We need to take the square root so that we can find the value of b. So when we take the square root of this, we are going to get b is approximately equal to 16.4. Now I have a confession to make. When I first worked this, I was like, 267, there's no way that's right. And I had forgotten to take the square root. So that is going to be one key thing that you need to be careful of. Okay, so now we're going to go on to problem 2, and we're going to be using the law of cosines with 3 sides. So it says in triangle TUV, TU is 4,4, UV is 7.1, TV is 6.7, and it wants us to find angle V to the nearest tenth. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle. So here we go. Let me get everything all labeled. And my drawing may look like a right triangle, but we can't say that it is. So just be aware, just because it looks like it's a right triangle doesn't mean it is. And we are looking for angle V. So I have 4.4 at UT, 7.1 for UV, and 6.7 for TV. Okay, so let's write down kind of how we're going to do this. So which angle are we looking for? Okay, so we're looking for this angle. So we are going to use this for our squared value. And I think you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. So we're going to say TU squared is equal to UV squared plus TV squared minus 2 times UV times TV times the cosine of V. Okay, I did that kind of quick, so let me back it up. Okay, so we said TU, and we use TU because this is going to be what we're wanting to find what is. So we want that to be this cosine over here. Okay, so what other legs do I have? Well, I've got UV. So I know I need to square UV. I'm going to add the other leg, and I'm going to square it too. So I've got TV squared, then minus 2 times UV times TV times the cosine of angle V. So I'll write down my general equation here. A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of angle A. So that's what we modeled this after. So now we're going to plug in. So we have 4.4 squared is equal to 7.1 squared plus 6.7 squared minus 2 times 7.1 times 6.7. And we don't have a value for the cosine of v. This is going to be what we're looking for. So we're hoping to find the cosine of v. So now I'm going to say, okay, what's 4.4 squared? So if you plug that into your calculator, you are going to get 19.36 is equal to 7.1 squared is 5.41 plus 44.89 minus, I'm going to multiply 2 times 7.1 times 6.7. So that's going to give me 95.14. And then I've got the cosine of v. So I'm going to see what I can do to simplify this. So I can combine these. So I'm going to say 19.36 is equal to 95.3 minus 95.14 times the cosine of v. So now, here's my variable. Who's connected to it where it's easy to get away? So I'm going to subtract 95.3 from both sides. And that is going to give me, I'm going to bring my work over here, negative 75.94. So this cancels out. So that's equal to negative 95.14 times the cosine of v. So now, well, how do I get v by itself? I'm sorry, the cosine of v. I'm going to divide by negative 95.14. So I have the cosine of v is equal to, now a negative over a negative, what does that give me? A positive. You can either leave these both negative or you can change them to both positive. They mean exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave them as negative just for simplicity's sake. Okay, so I'm looking for the angle. So what do I need to do now? I need to use the inverse. So the measure of angle V is equal to the cosine inverse of negative 75.94 divided by negative 95.14. So plug that into your calculator. So I get, when I plug this all in, 37.0 degrees. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So this one, the picture is super important. Okay, so we are using the law of cosines to solve a problem. So we have an air traffic controller is tracking a plane 2.1 kilometers due south of the radar tower. Okay, so I'm going to look at my picture over here. Okay, north. So if this is north, I'm going to bet that this direction is south. Oh, and they labeled the plane. So, and here's my 2.1. So this is plane A that they're talking about first. A second plane is located 3.5 kilometers from the tower at a heading of north 75 degrees east. So I think that means east, but 75 degrees north of east. So that's going to be right over here. And I may have said that wrong, so don't quote me on that. That's why it's good that they give us a picture. So that's going to be plane B. Here's our 3.5. Okay, so what do they want us to find? They want us to find the distance between the two planes. Okay, so if we're looking for D, what angle value do we need? Well, I need this angle value right here. How can I find that value? Oh, this is a line. So these two angles form a linear pair. What's the sum of a linear pair? 180 degrees. So what is 180 minus 75? So that's going to give me 105 degrees. So now I have everything I need. So I'm going to say D squared is equal to, now remember it doesn't matter which leg you call A or B. So I'm going to say 3.5 squared plus 2.1 squared minus 2 times 3.5 times 2.1 times the cosine of 105 degrees. So believe it or not, this is all the work you have to do. So at this point, you can either choose to simplify it a little bit more, or you can plug all of this into your calculator. So go ahead and pause and unpause when you have what your answer is. Okay, you got it? Okay, so I got 20.46463,996. So now let's take the square root. So if you're using your calculator, you can hit second square root, second answer, and that'll keep you from having to type it again. And hit enter. So D is approximately 4.5 kilometers. And that's all for this lesson.